Crafty Purple Dragon. I'm doing this video because I reached 100 subscribers, so I thought it was probably about time that I maybe told you guys a little bit about me. So I'm doing a WiP and chat with a YouTube tag, get to know me tag. So at the moment I'm doing, this is the Westie with Whiskey, which I did an unboxing of. I'm not sure if you've seen that unboxing yet. I'm about halfway through this panel. I'm just doing ends, which is 3042. I need to do a timer to make sure I don't run out with the camera. Okay, so the first, let me find my pen. The first question is name. My name is Ali, which is short for Alison, but my friends call me Ali. Nicknames, never really had one. Any nicknames that I did have were given to me by people that I wasn't particularly friendly with, so they were derogatory nicknames, if you want to call them nicknames. Name calling, really, I suppose. So never really had a nickname. Often thought when I was a kid that it'd be quite cool to have a nickname, and went through phases of trying to come up with a really cool nickname, but never managed it. So don't have a nickname. Birthday. My birthday is the 8th of October. Or October 8th. I was born in Wiltshire, which is the southwest of England, which is totally the other side of the country from where I live now. But that's a whole nother story. My star sign is Libra. Occupation. Well, I don't work due to various disabilities now. I haven't worked for over 10 years. Unfortunately, I had to give up work. But my profession is I'm a health and safety advisor. So my main job function within an organisation was to advise on compliance with health and safety legislation, carry out training of employees, liaise with enforcement authorities, that kind of thing. Yeah, but I haven't done that for over 10 years now because I'm decrepit and not fit to work anymore, unfortunately. Okay, so the next series of questions is appearance. Hair colour. Well, my natural hair colour is brunette, or was brunette when I was younger. I guess my natural colour now is a combination of grey and brunette in various stages. It's funny how it's sort of turning grey. Seems to be more grey at the front of my hair, and the sort of back and underneath bits of my hair are still quite dark. There's not much grey in there. However, I haven't really been my natural colour for a long time, although it's starting to get back to it now because I want to just try something a bit different. But normally I bleach my hair, or I get my hair bleached at the salon so that I can put on one of my favoured vibrant colour hair dyes from the dye is called Directions by La Riche. My favoured colour is violet, which is a really strong purple. And I have also tried the Wisteria, which is like a pastel lilac-y lavender colour. But violet is my favourite. I love the purple hair. Next, eye colour. I have hazel eyes, which is a mixture of brown and green. Pretty boring, really. It's kind of not one thing or another, really, hazel. Best feature? Well, I don't really think I have a best feature, but I think if you were to ask my husband, he'd say it was my bum. But I guess that's because he's a bum man, which is lucky because I don't really have any boobs. Or maybe he says that because I don't have any boobs and he doesn't want to upset me. Make me feel inadequate. Bless him. Braces. Well, I did when I was younger. Actually don't know if you can see me where have I zoomed in a bit too much and you can't see where I'm actually putting my things down. Yeah, I did have braces when I was younger, although they weren't like they are now back then. They weren't quite as technologically advanced, but they did the job. They straightened my teeth for the most part. I've still got one got one or two that aren't particularly straight, but in terms of the technology that was available at the time, they did okay. And I guess I was about 13 when I had my braces, so that's getting on for 40 years ago, not quite 40 years ago. So as you can imagine, the technology wasn't quite the same back then, but I did have them. Piercings. Yes, I have my nose pierced on the left hand side, and I have my ears pierced. I have 4 piercings in my left ear and 5 in my right ear, 2 of which are at the top of my ear and the rest are on my lobe. At one point I did contemplate having my tongue pierced. When I was wanting to give up smoking, I thought that having my tongue pierced would help me, you know, having something in my mouth to play with, to distract from not having a cigarette in my mouth. But when I went to the piercing studio and they looked at my tongue, they said it wasn't suitable for piercing because of the way the veins ran along the bottom of the tongue, so I couldn't actually have my tongue pierced, so I ended up not getting that done. I did have my left nipple pierced for a while, but that didn't really work out. It was uncomfortable and I persevered with it for quite a while, but in the end I took it out and let it heal up. And I have not, and I never have, and I never will have my belly button pierced. I have this phobia with my belly button. I don't like anybody coming near it. I mean, I can touch it, but if anybody else comes near it, it makes me heave. The thought of anybody else, the thought of anything near it or around it just makes me heave. Other people messing with their belly buttons makes me heave. Yeah, it's just this thing I have with belly buttons, so nobody's getting anywhere near my belly button with a big needle. No way. Nope. So that's piercings. Tattoos, yes. I have 2 tattoos on my back. I have a large back piece. And then I have a little... Well, my large back piece is a winged centaur. And above that, on my right shoulder, like on my right shoulder blade, I have a small Pegasus, which was actually my first tattoo. So those are the 2 on my back. I have 2 on my left arm, 1 at the top of my arm, which is a small yin yang symbol with dolphins, and I have 1 on the bottom inside of my left arm, which you guys see quite a lot. That one. And on my right arm I have a half sleeve, which consists of, how many tattoos would you say are in there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, I can't remember, I can't see around the back. 5 or 6 sort of individual pictures that form my half sleeve. Righty or lefty? I'm mostly a righty, but I am somewhat ambidextrous. So I can use my left hand. I can write with my left hand a little bit. I mean, it's not great. I wouldn't pass any writing contests. I'm not particularly quick. but I can use my left hand, and that's mainly, I don't know whether it's a genetic thing. My grandma was ambidextrous. I had to learn to use my left hand when I started having problems with my right hand. Well, the problems that I have with both hands, but they presented themselves first in my right hand because I use my right hand most. So I would initially like use my mouse with my left hand, and then on really bad days I would have to write with my left hand. So I learned quite quickly to use my left hand. I probably should have used it more, and then I would have got better, you know, quicker and more legible with it, but don't actually have to write much these days. Occasionally, see, using the drill pen isn't an issue. I do have to have a fat pen. Occasionally, I mean, if I'm starting to struggle with the drill pen, I just stop diamond painting. You know, it's not critical, it's not my job, I do this as a hobby. So, you know, I don't have to carry on. If I was getting to the end of like a section and I wanted to finish a section before I start, then I would switch to my left hand. Again, I'm not as quick doing it, but I can. So, yes, I'm right-handed, but I can use my left, is the answer to that question. Are there any more ends? I feel a colour change coming on, but I don't want to answer another question if I'm going to have to change colours. I think I'm done with ends. Looks like it. Right, okay, let's do a colour change. Right, the next colour. Next colour will be 648, which is question marks. Right, I can see a few of those on there. Okay, and the next question set is firsts. Best friend. My first best friend, and she's still my friend, although I don't see her very often these days, because she lives at the other end of the country from where I do, was Suzanne. Suzanne and I met when we were in primary school. I think we were probably about 6 or 7, maybe, somewhere around there. Maybe younger, actually. And we lived on the same street for, I don't know, I mean, I was a kid. A few years, went to the same school, and then her dad got a transfer with his job. Oh, sorry, I've moved things. I've moved my table, which is, I think, has upset. Let me just readjust. Oh, no, don't zoom in. Stupid camera. Oh, right, how's that? It's a really weird angle, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so her dad got a transfer from work, so they moved But I guess it was easier because her parents were friends with my parents. Drink break. So the family stayed in touch, which meant that we stayed in touch, and we, you know, went to family gatherings and stuff, which meant that we stayed in touch probably more than we would have done if it had just been left to us as kids. And I still know her now. I haven't seen her for a long time, but we're in touch. So yeah, that's Suzanne. First award? No idea. Don't know that I've ever had an award, really. Swimming awards? Do they count? Swimming 10 metres? In the pool? Can't think that I've ever had an award, really. It's just probably a bit sad and shows what an underachiever I am. I mean, I had little things from school, like, you know, did really well at whatever. But nothing that I'd call an award as such. Not my understanding of it anyway. Okay, so first sport. First sport? First sport? That's a bit of a weird question. I don't do sport. Never have done sport. Never been a sporty person. Never particularly played any sports. I did a lot of horse riding when I was a kid, but, you know, I didn't enter any competitions as such. Although, maybe that was my first award. I did, when I was about 14, went on a riding holiday, and we did a one-day event, and I did win some rosettes for that. Maybe that counts as my first award as well. Whoops. So, yeah, I mean, if I was to pick any sport, it would be horse riding related. But I've never really been one for team games, joining in or watching. You know, I'm not fussed about watching sports on the television. The only exception might be during international football games, maybe. Like if England get into the World Cup or the Europeans or something like that, I might watch. I might watch football, but mostly not. Occasionally I'll watch a bit of rugby, but only if it's on and there's nothing else. Again, you know, for the sake of it being the national team, maybe, but although that said, I quite like watching skiing and sort of winter sports. I did ski as a kid for a bit, but I didn't, you know, do anything with it. In fact, skiing was probably my first sport. Oh no, maybe not. Swimming probably was my first sport. But there is a photograph knocking around in the family somewhere of me as a little girl on skis. I look like I was maybe about 4. first real holiday, as opposed to a not real holiday, unreal holiday, fake holiday. My first real holiday, if they mean like going abroad, was as a family we used to go to Italy during the summer in the caravan. So that would be my first real holiday, staying on a caravan site called Stella Maris in Italy. Whereabouts in Italy, I don't know, whether it was northern Italy or southern Italy, I have no idea. I just knew it was Italy. It was on the coast, because we used to go and play in the water in a boat, in an inflatable dinghy. So that was the first holidays that I can remember were in Italy. Right, are there any more question marks? I think I'm done. Okay, what colour? Right, this is R, which is 3740. R, okay. R. Ooh, R. Right, so I think there's one first left. First concert. So the first concert I ever went to, my brother took me for my 16th birthday to see Shakin' Stevens at the Manchester Apollo. And I thought it was brilliant. I don't know why he decided to take me to see Shakin' Stevens. I mean, I quite liked Shakin' Stevens at the time. I wouldn't have said I was a particular fan. I guess it's just the person that was on at around about the time of my birthday, so that was my first concert. Never really been one for going to concerts or gigs. My husband goes all the time. Him and the kids are always going to concerts, gigs, whatever you want to call them. For me, I just find it's a lot of faff, especially as my health has deteriorated and me getting around is a lot more difficult. I have to use mobility aids or my mobility scooter, and it just makes it difficult getting in and out of venues, and I have to park, I have to find somewhere to park, and that's a big stress, making sure that I'm going to be parked somewhere where I can easily get to the venue. So it all kind of takes the fun out of the concert, really. So I don't tend to bother these days. Although that said, towards the end of May, my daughter and I are going to, I don't know what it's called these days, the Manchester Arena, where that unfortunate bomb was the other year. We're going there towards the end of May to watch Hugh Jackman. So that'll be interesting. So the next set of questions. Favourite film? Favourite film? If I was going to say anything for favourite film, it would be Calamity Jane. I love Doris Day. I think she was brilliant. She had a lovely voice. She played some excellent roles. She had a sense of humour. Very talented, gorgeous woman. with an amazing voice. And Calamity Jane is probably my favourite film that she did. And I can't really think of anything else that I would say over and above that film that I would call my favourite film, so it would have to be that. At one point, when I first left school, and I was unemployed for quite a while, because back in the mid-80s, unemployment levels in the UK were really, really high. Trying to find a job was, especially if you didn't have many qualifications, such as I didn't. Trying to find a job was difficult. So I had a lot of unemployment. And there weren't the same forms of entertainment then as there are now. You know, there was no internet, there was no, there was no cable. I think at the time there were 3, I can't remember when Channel 4 happened, but I think there were like 3 television channels in the UK. You know, no satellite. Was there satellite? There might have been satellite, but we didn't have it. I've just lost a load of beads. All pinged out over the floor. God damn it. So, the only thing to do, you know, for entertainment, my mum and dad were out at work. There's only so many times you can go down the job centre and apply for jobs and stuff, so I just used to sit at home and watch Calamity Jane that we'd recorded off the telly one time on VHS and just constantly watch that. So I overplayed it, which is why it's my favourite film, I guess. Favourite TV show? If I'm gonna say anything, these days I don't watch a lot of TV. I tend to play my PS4 more than I watch TV, and even that now has been replaced by diamond painting. So these days I tend to have people on YouTube on in the background while I'm placing my beads. But if I was to say, if you were like pressing me and I had to say a TV program, it would be Red Dwarf. Funny as. Especially the earlier series sort of maybe 1 to 4, I would say were probably the funniest. Yeah, so Red Dwarf. Favourite colour? Well, I guess you probably know by now that it's purple. Mainly, I don't have a particular I nearly said flavour. Particular shade of purple that I would say is my favourite colour. I just like purple in general, for all shades, but mostly, you know, definite purples. I'm not keen on the more pastel-y colours of sort of lilac or lavender, or I mean I do like them, but my preference would be for bolder, brighter purples, more on the bluey side than the pinky side. but just generally purple. Purple is my favourite colour. Favourite song. Now, this one's difficult. Does it ask for favourite band? Don't think it does. So my answer to that question would be anything by Pink Floyd. But again, if you were going to press me and I had to say which song from Pink Floyd in particular would I say is my favourite, it would probably be Wish You Were Here. Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. Favourite restaurant. Don't really go out to eat often enough to have a favourite restaurant. I have a favourite style of restaurant. I like Italian food. So I suppose places like Pizza Hut, Pizza Express, those sort of places could be classed as favourite restaurants, but I don't have a particular favourite restaurant that we go to because we don't really go out to eat as a rule. We're both stingy, careful with money when it comes to things like that. You know, what's the point of going out and spending loads on food when you've got food home in the fridge or freezer or cupboards? So we would only really go out for meals for special occasions, and on things like that it's sort of down to whoever's special occasion it is as to where we would end up going. Favourite store. Do people have a favourite store? Favourite store. AliExpress. Yeah, why not? I mean, it doesn't have to be a physical store, does it? Since I found diamond painting, I would probably say that AliExpress is my favourite store. In terms of what I've bought most from lately, it would probably be Amazon. Obviously they're online stores, but I don't see why we can't be talking about online stores, especially these days. I mean, most of my spending is online. If I was to pick a physical store, favourite physical store, don't know that I have one really. There's one of my beads that escaped. No, come back. No, I don't really have a favourite physical store. Maybe Superdrug. Or Lush. Oh my god, Lush is Lush. I love Lush. I love Lush just to go in and like stand in there and smell everything. It's gorgeous. Next, favourite book. Oh god. Let me just take a drink. Favourite book. Excuse me. I don't have one favourite book. I have a favourite series of books, which I think I've mentioned before. There is a brilliant author called Sir Terry Pratchett who unfortunately died from a rare form of Alzheimer's a few years ago now. He was a sci-fi and fantasy writer, and probably his most famous series of books is called the Discworld series, and that's my favourite series of books. And there's about, I think there's about 40 of them in the main series, and then there's a few sort of spin-offs that are sort of associated with, but like not the main series of books. Out of that series of books, do I have a favourite? I don't know that I can pick one. My favourite sub-series of books, because within the Discworld series there's various characters who have their own story arcs that feature in the books. Because these excuse me. So my favourite characters would be the witches, maybe, or Death. Yeah, so not really one book. I also love a series of books called Earth's Children by Jean M. Auel. Jean M. I don't know how you spell it, pronounce it. She did 6 books that followed the life of a child, a Stone Age child, during the time when modern man coexisted with the Neanderthals in Central Europe. And that's a really good series of books. I enjoyed that. So that would be my second series of books. Again, it doesn't really answer the question because I don't have a favourite book as such. Favourite magazine? I don't read magazines. I don't read physical magazines. I've never really been into physical magazines. I don't read, you know, and now that they've sort of generally been replaced, I guess, I mean, I don't know. Are physical magazines still a thing? I don't really read any online magazines either. I'm not one for celebrity gossip, or, you know, what's going on with this celebrity or that celebrity, or what the current trend is, or anything like that you tend to get by reading magazines. Over the years I have read certain specialist magazines depending on what my tastes, you know, what my activities were at the time. So I've read horse related magazines, I've read motorcycle related magazines, I've read craft related magazines, but I don't at the moment, so I don't have a favourite. Favourite shoes? Well, that's a weird question. Favourite shoes? I don't have a favourite pair of shoes, but I have a favourite type of shoe. I struggle with closures, even Velcro, because it's difficult to get down to my shoes to do up any type of fastening. So I prefer slip-on style shoes, and generally I wear like not a flip-flop, but like a flip-flop style with a sort of open back and a toe post. Those tend to be the type of shoe that I wear, apart from in the winter, you know, during this time of year and onwards. As early as I can manage it, before, you know, without my toes freezing, to as late in the year as I can manage it without my toes freezing, I'll wear a toe post style of footwear. During the winter I wear boots that have a zip. They have to open reasonably wide so that I can easily get my foot in and out, and if they're not slip-on, then they have to have an easily openable zip fastening so that I can get them on and off. Right, I think I've done all the R's. I'm gonna say I've done all the R's. Oh. Right. So, change colour. So that was first. The next bit is currently. Currently feeling. Currently feeling hopeful, maybe. Don't know if that's the right word. Don't vanish, bead. My husband has been working away during the week for the past 7 years. We finally made the decision at the beginning of April that he would give up his job because he needed to come home for various reasons, and we would suffer the financial consequences of him not being in permanent employment. So he handed in his notice. He had to work 2 months' notice, so was due to finish work at the end of May. So from the end of May, you know, from June onwards, he would be back home here permanently, but out of work, or out of permanent work. I mean, to be honest, I wasn't that bothered. We don't have a mortgage. You know, the house that we live in is our own. All we have to do is consider having enough of an income that we can pay gas, electric, council tax, and some food. And I said to him, look, I've lived on beans on toast in the past and it didn't do me any harm. We can live on beans and toast again in the future. You know, what's more important is his mental health and him coming home and feeling better, because he's not having to put up with the aggro that he was putting up with at work. You know, I said you can sign on with temporary agencies, do contract work, there's all sorts. Doesn't have to be, you know, out of work. We could buy a van and he can go around and do odd jobs. You know, we wouldn't be destitute by any stretch of the imagination. So I was never worried about that. Anyway, not long after, because he's been applying for jobs, you know, over the years. He also is a health and safety advisor like I was. So, you know, the jobs aren't they're not exactly a job that's sort of prolific. They are quite few and far between. So he's been applying for jobs over the years and he's just not been fortunate enough to get anything. But after he'd given his notice in, he got an interview for a job, which is where I used to work actually when I met him, funnily enough. So he had the interview on the Friday. Morning. He had the interview on the Friday morning. And was rung up and offered to do... What number am I doing now? I've forgotten what I'm doing. Bracket. Open bracket. He was rung up and offered the job the same day, the afternoon of the same day, which he accepted, obviously. So he does have a job, and his current employer, although he's contracted to work 2 months notice, that's 2 months, not 4 weeks, which is really awkward, because you usually expect it to be a number of weeks, not calendar months. He did ask if they would let him go early, and we've just found out today that his last day of work will be the 12th of May. So he'll be home a lot earlier than, like, it should have been the end of May, but now it's going to be the middle of May. So yeah, I'm hopeful, quite hopeful, that now he's coming home he'll feel better mentally. We're not going to be as bad off as I thought we were going to be, because he has got a job. The job that he's got doesn't pay as much as his current job, but he was going to have no job, so, you know, that's better. So, yeah, that's how I'm currently feeling. I'm feeling hopeful. Single or taken? Well, I guess anybody who watches my channel knows that I'm not single. I'm well and truly taken. I am married. My husband and I have been together 26 years next month. Married for 16, together for 26. Eating. What am I eating? Currently eating. I'm not eating anything. I'm currently, when I occasionally take a drink, I'm currently drinking. Can you see that? Lipton peach iced tea. It's not very ice. It's room temperature. I do not like Lipton lemon tea. But I do like that. There's another make that do a a peach and hibiscus flavour. Lipton do a raspberry that I can't seem to get hold of in the shop that we shop from. I've seen it in the local petrol station. What's this now? What colour's this? This is 762, it's the @ sign. So that's what I'm currently drinking. It's not what I'm eating, because I'm not eating anything. Are there any @ signs? Yes, here. Currently listening to the sound of my own voice. Although in the kitchen the radio is on, and the radio is on Planet Rock. The radio is always on in the kitchen, and it is always on Planet Rock. The radio is always on because when the dog's here, she's very reactive, so I like to keep something on in the background just so that there's a little bit of sort of over noise over. It's not silent so that she's hopefully doesn't pick up on every tiny little noise. I don't know that it makes any difference, to be honest, but it makes me feel a little bit better. Right, that's it for that colour. If I was just doing this work in progress without talking to you guys, I would be listening to YouTube. I would have on videos from the various diamond painting channels, listening to their WiP and chats or their reviews or whatever videos they've released. Right, this is tea, which is 3756 tea. Do we have any teas? We better have some teas. I've just poured them all out. Don't look like we've got any teas. God damn it. Why don't I check? I just go to the next colour in the box and pull it out. No, there's no teas, is there? Can you see any teas? Nope. That was a waste of time. God damn it. Right. Nine. We've got some 9s. Currently thinking about... Well, what I'm currently thinking about is, I mean, not at this moment, but in general at this moment in time, is... Right, this takes a little bit of an explanation. We used to have a shop. We used to have a shop in a local town nearby. A physical shop. We sold collectibles, gifts and collectibles. We mainly opened the shop because when my daughter left school, she didn't know what she wanted to do. She didn't want to go to university. She didn't want to go to college for anything in particular. She didn't know what job she wanted. She didn't get particularly brilliant results at school. I mean, enough that she could have probably got into university if she'd wanted to, but she didn't really know what she wanted to do. She was a little bit in limbo. She quite enjoyed working with children. She's a second dan in jiu-jitsu, so she did a little bit of helping out at the local dojo with kids, and I think that sort of piqued her interest that maybe she wanted to go into nursery work, but she couldn't decide. So rather than have her sat around at home, we decided to open this shop and give her something to do. So she worked in there. It was open for 12 months. Oh, hold on. We had a lease for 12 months, which I thought would give her a chance to decide what she wanted to do. It was like 12 months out of education to see if she decided she wanted to go back and maybe do university, or, you know, did she want to go and do some training to do something else. So we had this shop. When the lease was due for renewal, we decided not to renew because she'd got to the stage where she'd started doing, on the days that the shop was shut, she'd started working at a local nursery. Realised that it wasn't really what she wanted to do. She decided that she wanted to join the army. She wanted to join the army as an electrical engineer. So we went through the process of her signing up, but didn't get very far because she had some problems with her back and her knee. She dislocated her knee previously, so they wouldn't have her. So she couldn't go and join the army, but she decided that she wanted to try and get an apprenticeship to do electrical and mechanical engineering. So we didn't need the shop. I can't work, you know, I couldn't have manned the shop. It was too much for me. I could maybe help out occasionally with little bits, but it was too much for me. I couldn't run it on my own. So we closed the shop and all the stock went into storage, and all the stock's been in storage, and we've just been selling it little bits here and there online on our own website and through Amazon and occasionally eBay and stuff. But with us agreeing that my husband was going to finish work, we could no longer afford to keep paying for the storage unit. So we got in touch with an auction house and agreed that they would take all our remaining stock and sell it in their auctions. So what I'm thinking about at the moment is the fact that I need to pack up all the stock in the 2 storage units that we've got, ready for the auction house to come and pick it up next week. So that's what I'm thinking about at the moment. I keep going every day and trying to do a little bit, but I'm struggling because I can't do much. My husband's away. My daughter's working all hours that God sends. So that's what's sort of preoccupying me. I know there's a lot to do, and I've just got to sort of nibble at it a little bit at a time and hope that I'm going to be ready with everything packed up and a full inventory list when they come and collect it all next week. Right, 9s. Any more 9s? Anywhere? 9s. Any 9s? Some 6s there. I think that's all the 9s. Okay. Colour change. Right. Next colour. L or U? I've seen some U's. We'll have U. U is 524. Let's get this out. Right. Currently watching YouTube. YouTube is generally what I watch these days. All the diamond painting people I watch. I also watch some game related channels. On the telly I watch I'm not into Game of Thrones. I know the final series of Game of Thrones has recently just started. I think I watched the first 2 or 3 series of that, and then it got too much for me. It's not my kind of thing, so I'm definitely not watching that. Although that's what I'm not watching, not what I am watching. I'm watching Magnum PI. I quite like that. That's a reboot of the Magnum series. I've just started watching MacGyver, which is a reboot of the original MacGyver series. We've been watching Star Trek Discovery on Netflix. That's good. I like that. Anything Star Trek related is good. I like watching, at the moment I'm watching through Sky Arts. I've been watching all the previous series of Landscape Artist of the Year and Portrait Artist of the Year. They're quite good. Yeah, I think that's about it for what I'm watching at the moment. Oh, Gogglebox, that's back on again, so been watching that. I think that's it at the moment. Currently wearing not much. When I'm at home, as I think I've said to you before, as a general rule, I don't go out very much. I don't work. So I'm around the house all day on my own most of the time. So I tend to just wear some type of caftan style dress. So that's what I'm wearing at the moment. I'm wearing a caftan that's got a picture of a cat on the front of it. That and my slippers. And underwear, obviously. Future. Right, so the next section is future. Want children. I already have children. I have a daughter and a stepson. My daughter is how old is she? She'll be 26, really? No, she can't be 26 this year because me and her dad have only been together 26 years. She'll be 24 this year. Flipping heck, maths. That took some working out, jeez. So she's 24 this year. Stepson is 28 this year. Wow. My stepson is married, so I have a stepdaughter-in-law. And my daughter is getting married at the end of the year, or towards the end of the year. So I have a future son-in-law. My stepson has a daughter, so I have one granddaughter. So those are my current children / grandchildren. Future, want to be married? Well, I already am. Careers in mind, not applicable. Where do you want to live? I'm not bothered where I live. Like I said earlier on, I wasn't born around here. So I'm not bothered about staying around here. If we were to move, I'm not bothered where we move to, provided we're sort of within reasonable travel distance of the family. And these days, reasonable travel distance, I would say, you know, maybe like up to an hour away. My preference now would be to live in, is the type of housing that I'd like to live in. We currently live in a 3-bedroom semi-detached house in a nice little village on a nice estate. The area that we live in is nice. I don't have a problem with where we are. I wouldn't want to move for any particular reason other than I really need, and especially going forward, oh, there's some 9s there that I missed. I need to be all on one level. I'm finding it more and more difficult to get up and downstairs. Fortunately, we have a toilet downstairs, so I don't have to worry during the day about, you know, getting upstairs to go to the bathroom. Because we have a downstairs toilet. But getting upstairs at night and getting down again in the morning is getting more and more difficult for me. So we are at some point going to have to consider moving. And it would really need to be a bungalow. I suppose it could be a flat. L we're on. L is 902. The problem with a flat is I've got a massive dog. And having a dog in a flat, I mean, if it's a ground floor flat, it's not so bad, but the problem with being in a flat or like an apartment block or complex is there's other people in sort of closer proximity than we have here, and she does not like people. Does not like people at all. I can see the amount of complaints that we would get would be quite high. So it would have to be a bungalow. The problem with bungalows is they're fairly rare, I think, and quite expensive for what they are, because they're not a very good use of land, are they? But that's where I'd like to live, in a bungalow. So the next section, the final section. Do you believe in? Oh God, hang on a minute. Just had a big collapse of my containers. So the first one is, do you believe in God? Well, there's a question that's open-ended, isn't it? Right, we're on D, which is 318. Have we got any Ds? Yes, we've got Ds. Okay. So I was christened Church of England when I was born. Well, not when I was born, but when I was christened. My mum is actually a Methodist. My dad was Church of England, so we were all christened Church of England. I don't know how old I was, but not old enough to make my own choice. As is the way with religion, they get you early, so you can't decide for yourself. And then when I was about 14, I found God, and I started going to the local church, and I went to confirmation classes, and I got confirmed Church of England. So I am christened and confirmed Church of England. However, these days, I feel it's less important to worry about whether or not there is a higher power, but that it's more important that we worry about the harm we do to the beings around us and the environment in which we live. We should be kind and generous and do no harm, not because we fear retribution from our God, but because it's the right thing to do. So that would be my view on belief in God. Do I believe in miracles? Well, I would say it depends what you mean by miracles. If you're talking about miracles from God, not really. If you're talking about miracles of the natural world, then yes. Life is miraculous. This planet that we live on is miraculous. The fact that it continues to sustain us despite all the abuse it's been put through by us is miraculous. So I believe in miracles of nature. Do you believe in love at first sight? Yes, I do. Although I wouldn't say that my husband and I fell in love at first sight, because when I first saw him, I didn't sort of consider, like, see him as a potential date. I was working with a friend of his, and we went out for lunch, and we met my husband while we were out, and the guy that I worked with, you know, introduced us, and they went off for their lunch, and I went off and did my thing at lunch, and that was that. Was having problems with my boyfriend at the time, and we'd split up. I mean, this was a little while after I'd first met him. We'd split up. I was having a hard time. The guy that I worked with said that his friend was having similar problems with his ex-girlfriend, and it'd probably be a good idea that we both got together. So we had kind of a blind date, but not a blind date, because we had already met each other, but hadn't really kind of consciously made any, you know, opinion on each other from that point of view, because we weren't sort of considering each other from that angle. So I went round to his house for the evening. He made me tea. We watched videos, had a drink. And by the end of the night I was smitten. Definitely. I don't know whether he was or not, but I certainly was. And I couldn't wait to see him again. And yeah, we saw each other like almost every day after that. And within 6 months we'd moved in together. So if that classes as love at first sight, then yes. I do believe in love at first sight. And I've seen it happen to other people as well. And I think you can just meet somebody and, you know, and everything clicks. And you know it just feels right. Unfortunately, whether that person is good or bad for you doesn't make any difference. Right, this is number 5, which is 938. So, do you believe in ghosts? I don't know. I have friends who believe in ghosts. I have friends who go ghost hunting. I don't know. I'm yet to be convinced, I think, would be my answer to that. I mean, it's hard to... I don't know. You know, we are more than the atoms that come together to make us whole. You know, so, and where does that part of us go when those atoms cease to function? You know, call it the soul if you want. Where does the soul go? Yeah, if you believe in God, it goes to heaven or it goes to hell, depending on how good or bad you've been in your life. It's not number 6, you dope, it's number 5. You know, I don't know where the life force goes after death. I don't know, and whether it can linger around after death, I don't know. So I would say undecided on that one. Changing colour. And where's the... I just used that one, didn't I? Yeah. Okay, C. Have we got any C's? A few, not many. Do I believe in aliens? Well, again, I don't know. I haven't, as far as I'm aware, I have not seen any aliens. I'm open to the fact that there may be in the universe, there may well be other forms of intelligent life. I mean, you know, really it's unrealistic to think that in all the hundreds of thousands of millions of galaxies or whatever, that life hasn't sprung up elsewhere. You know, what level of intelligence that life is, and whether or not they've got flying saucers and come to us, I don't know. I've not seen any evidence of it personally, but again, I'm not discounting it. Right, that's C. Let's do Q. Q, which is 3041. Soulmates. Do I believe in soulmates? Right, we're doing Q. Yes, I do. I believe my husband is my soulmate. I cannot imagine my life without him. He can be a pain in the bum at times. Oh, Mr. C there. But I just believe we were destined to be together, and we were meant to be, and will always be, because we are soulmates. Heaven and hell. Do you believe in heaven and hell? I mean, this comes back to what I said before about, you know, when the question about God and question about ghosts. I don't believe in heaven and hell. I think this earth is all we've got, and what we're doing to it is making it hell. You know, the fact that there is the potential to go somewhere better, I think, gives people an out for not treating the planet that we've got with respect. And, you know, I just don't really believe in heaven or hell. I'm willing to accept that I'm wrong when the time comes. If I end up in one or other of the places, I'll try and let you know. And I'll hold up my hands and say, well, there you go, I was wrong. Q. Heaven, hell. Kissing on a first date. Yes, I do believe in kissing on a first date. I mean, for me, especially as you get older, like, why delay the inevitable? Let's rub lips together and see if there's chemistry, see if we enjoy it, see if we like what we're experiencing. Because if we don't, there's no point wasting any more time on this thing, whatever this thing is. Because life's too short, you know what I mean? If you're gonna... I mean, if you're younger, maybe it's a little bit different, but once you start getting into, you know, your sort of mid-20s, early 30s, let's just cut to the chase. Get some lip action going and see if we enjoy it. If not, it's been nice to meet you. Good luck with your life, and I'll see you around maybe. Do you believe in yourself? Well, that's difficult. It depends in what context you're talking about. I have in the past believed in myself to, you know, to get professional qualifications and to work hard at the job that I'm in and do well. But I've never been particularly a confident person. I, you know, had a lot of insecurities in my life. Still do. I have a lot of confidence issues now because of my health and my disabilities. But I try to remain positive about it. Is that the same as believing in myself? I don't know. Don't know, at my age, believing in yourself is really an appropriate expression. I don't know. But I suppose I should say yes, of course I do. I believe in myself. I'm amazing. I'm wonderful. There's nothing I can't do if I put my mind to it. And that's true. You know, if you want something... Oh, that's a bad bead. If you want something bad enough, you'll strive to achieve it. And I have done in the past. It's just a little bit more difficult for me these days with me not being fit and healthy. So there you go. That was the... What was it called? Oh, get to know me tag. Hopefully it has given you some little bit more information about me, and the reason I did it was because I've reached 100 subscribers, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you so much for subscribing, for continuing to watch the videos and support the channel. It's very much appreciated. I only created the channel, I don't know why I created the channel really, just to sort of record what I was doing on my diamond painting, really. So I very much appreciate everybody who tunes in when I upload a video, everybody who's subscribed, future subscribers if you're watching this, thank you, it's very much appreciated. And I hope I can continue to make videos that are of interest to the wider community. So I'll leave you there. Thank you very much for tuning in. It is much appreciated. If you haven't already subscribed, then please do subscribe. Hit like if you enjoyed the video. If you have any comments or questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section below. Down there, I think it'll be. And I'll see you next time. Bye.